Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, took the witness stand in London's High Court this week as part of a high-profile legal battle against one of Britain's most influential newspaper publishers. What began as another chapter in his long-running dispute with the tabloid press quickly turned into a sharp defense of his own character and the integrity of those close to him, revealing just how personal and intense the litigation has become. Harry, accompanied by legal counsel and surrounded by a gallery of spectators and media, entered the courtroom with a serious but composed demeanor. This legal action, which he is pursuing alongside 6 other prominent figures, including entertainers and public advocates, centers on allegations that the publisher of a widely read national newspaper repeatedly violated the privacy of its subjects by obtaining and publishing personal information through unlawful means. The Duke's case spanned several decades of tabloid reporting, much of it focused on his life as a member of the royal family, his relationships, his movements, and intimate details that he insists should never have been made public. Rather than simply addressing broad legal points, Harry uses time on the stand to dispute a particularly damaging suggestion from the defense that members of his own social circle were leaky and responsible for feeding sensitive information to journalists. From the moment cross-examination began, Harry adopted a firm stance. When questioned about the origins of certain stories, he responded emphatically that he had never been friends with the journalist in question and insisted that his social circle was not a source of leaks. "My social circles were not leaky," he declared, emphasizing his desire to set the record straight. According to the Duke, suggesting that his friends were responsible for supplying private details to the press was not only inaccurate, but also a tactic to deflect from the core allegations of unlawful information gathering. The defense had argued that the newspaper's journalists relied on legitimate sources, including acquaintances and friends of the claimants, to obtain material for their articles. These assertions were made during intense exchanges in the courtroom, where lawyers attempted to portray the contested stories as part of standard journalistic practice rather than evidence of privacy invasion. Harry pushed back against these claims, pointing out that if journalists truly had access to reliable sources within a circle, there would have been no need for them to engage in the questionable methods his legal team alleges, such as hiring private investigators or other clandestine tactics. Throughout his testimony, Harry appeared determined to separate fact from speculation. He acknowledged that while he may have interacted with members of the press from time to time, often out of a sense of obligation or necessity given his status, this did not amount to friendship or trust. He stressed that any relationship with journalists was always tempered by a deep awareness of how they had previously reported on his life and the lives of those around him. The Duke also addressed another significant point raised by the defense: why he and his co-claimants did not raise complaints about specific articles at the time they were published. In reply, Harry explained that for much of his life, as a working member of the royal family, he had been constrained by the institution's long-standing approach of maintaining silence in the face of press criticism. This policy discouraged public rebuttals and left him feeling that any attempt to challenge inaccurate reporting would only lead to further intrusion. This courtroom confrontation marked another moment in a broader campaign Harry has waged against parts of the British tabloid media. His legal efforts, which include multiple lawsuits against different publishers, stem from a profound belief that certain journalistic practices have crossed ethical and legal boundaries, causing real harm to individuals' lives and relationships. He argued that the intrusive nature of some reporting had profound psychological consequences, not just for him, but for others he cares about. During exchanges with the defense lawyer, Harry was careful to articulate that this case was not simply about his own experiences, but about establishing accountability for invasive methods used by media outlets. He stressed that he sees a lawsuit as an attempt to challenge a pattern of conduct that prioritizes sensationalism over respect for personal privacy and decency. By defending his social circle, he made it clear that he rejects any suggestion that people close to him were careless or indiscreet. The courtroom scene was serious, but not without moments that revealed the human side of the proceedings. At times, Harry smiled briefly as he entered and exited the witness box, suggesting a sense of relief at being able to speak openly after years of private reflection. Yet his responses during testimony reflected the gravity of the situation and the deep frustration he has felt over what he described as the commercialization of his private life. Outside the courtroom, the legal battle has drawn broad public interest. sparking discussions about the balance between press freedom and individual privacy rights. Supporters of Harry's position argue that powerful media organizations must be held to account when they allegedly engage in improper information gathering. Critics counter that public figures, especially those as prominent as members of the royal family, must expect a certain level of scrutiny and commentary. Harry's legal team has maintained that their action is not about seeking financial compensation, but about exposing practices they believe are unjust and damaging. They aim to prove that at least some of the stories published about Harry and his co-claimants were based on unlawfully obtained information, including methods such as voicemail hacking, covert surveillance, and deceptive access to personal data. In addition to contesting the source of specific stories, the case has highlighted broader concerns about how the media operates and the pressures faced by those in the public eye. Harry's testimony underscores conviction that unchecked media behavior can erode trust, damage relationships, and create lasting emotional harm. By challenging allegations that links between journalists and his social circle were casual or friendly, he sought to dismantle narratives that have been used to justify tabloid reporting practices. The trial is expected to continue for several weeks, with testimonies from other claimants and potential witnesses scheduled to follow. Each day brings further examination of the complex web of interactions between public figures, journalists, and the institutions that govern privacy law in the UK. For Harry, this is yet another chapter in a long journey toward confronting what he perceives as a disregard for personal dignity by parts of the press. As the proceedings unfold, few pieces of this legal and personal saga are likely to remain clear. Yet what is certain is that Prince Harry's decision to defend not only himself but also the reputations of those close to him speaks to his broader goals: to challenge powerful institutions, protect privacy rights, and ensure that those who invade privacy without consequence are held to account.